Hey, it looks like we're nearing a quorum for the day. Again, good morning. My name is Brad MacKenzie. I'm part of the business development team here at DecisionPoint, specifically around the custom application practice. Today we have about 25 slides that I'll try and get through in under a half an hour. Open to questions. Please use the question box on the GoToMeeting control panel to post any questions, and I'll do my best to answer them once we get through the slide deck today. Okay, so the agenda for today is a little bit of background for those of you who have not heard of DecisionPoint before. I'm going to talk a little bit about what the analysts are saying as it relates to cross-platform development. Talk about some of the questions that are becoming common within our customer base as it relates to how they approach next generation mobility. Talk about how we integrate back-end mobile applications with existing enterprise back-end systems. The importance of building an application for consumability, for intuitive use, and reducing costs as it relates to training and user manuals at the same time. We'll talk a little bit about how DecisionPoint approaches that problem in the context of cross-platform development, both by using some examples of some recent projects, but also talking about our mobility planning workshops as a way to wrap up the call today. So for those of you who are not familiar with DecisionPoint, I've been around for a long time, 30 years worth of enterprise mobility experience. I grew up in the hardware side, staging, kitting, provisioning, servicing hardware for our enterprise customers. And then over the last few years have begun to move to more of a complete solutions approach, making some key software acquisitions over the past few years, including last summer the acquisition of a Tulsa-based development shop, 17 years in the making. Grew up doing mobile application development for the oil patch primarily, but back in 2008 when iOS and Android came out, made a hard turn and started writing natively for those operating systems. And then over the last few years, the group has been evaluating and developing applications when appropriate using cross-platform frameworks. And we've gone through various iterations and explored Appcelerator, PhoneGap, and most recently RhoMobile, which is currently the standard within the organization. And today we're going to talk about the learning experiences that went through that particular process. As a point of interest, this is going to be primarily a business-focused discussion. We're happy to take more technical questions with a more technical leader present, but certainly feel free to post them and we'll do our best to get back to you. So moving on, from an analyst perspective, Gartner is saying that more than 50% of the mobile applications being written and deployed between now and 2016 are going to be hybrid or cross-platform applications. And so I think we're starting to see, particularly in the enterprise, that this is the pressure on BYOD strategy, both for employees and for customers and partners, is becoming a requirement in the business. And Gartner believes that in order to address that requirement, a cross-platform tool or hybrid approach is going to be required. This is a slide to back that up. Over the next few years, you can see that it's going to continue to be a multi-horse race. Android 2-to-1 over Windows and iOS in terms of market share in the operating system space, but at the same time, all of them are going to be relevant. And for that reason, I think we need to be prepared in order to address all of those with a cross-platform strategy. So in terms of the common questions, our customers are Fortune 500 enterprise customers who are looking to solve the cross-platform next generation problem and are coming to us with questions in terms of getting their head around it as well. As I mentioned earlier, employees and partners, customers are demanding a mobile application experience. Many of their customers, or their competitors, excuse me, are starting to differentiate themselves in the marketplace with customer-facing applications or partner-facing applications. And so in order to keep up with the Joneses, if you will, having a cross-platform strategy is becoming more and more of a necessity. And then the other factor that these customers are wrestling with is they have a large legacy device fleet running Windows Mobile and Windows CE. So being able to continue to support those legacy investments is critical, but at the same time we need to be addressing the modern OS opportunity as well. And so the question really becomes, what do we choose in order to do that? We hear a lot of talk about mobile web versus native versus hybrid. What's the difference? How do I support complex business rules, specifically in the case where we're talking about native applications or applications that could run in a disconnected mode? How do I make sure that the business rules that are unique to my company get supported in that, and there's strategies around that as well that we'll be talking about today. Again, being able to leverage the modern device features that we've come to expect in modern applications like camera, GPS mapping are critical, and then of course more enterprise features like RFID and signature capture are also, and barcode scanning would be another example, are obviously things that need to be factored into a next generation's strategy. So if we're willing to grant that mobile is the next enterprise computing platform, we all can recognize based on the data points that having a cross-platform tool is the right way to go. But which one do I select? And there's a few modern ones out there. There's also some legacy ones that people may be familiar with from days gone by, like Sybase unwired platform, or the Pixis Veribo platform. Antenna would be another example. And those are what we would refer to as legacy frameworks, generally more of a black box is approach in terms of the way that's approached, generally with an army of consultants that goes along with it. The market has changed. The new standard is open standards focused on modern smartphones. Appcelerator, PhoneGap, and RhoMobile are excellent examples of next generation frameworks. And as I mentioned earlier in my opening remarks, the folks here in our Tulsa-based office have experience with each of them. Actually, their experience started back in 2010, I'm told, with Appcelerator. And it was a good tool for writing iOS and Android applications. But in fact, it was really more of a write it once for each of those platforms. It did not really support the true cross-platform, and the fact that it uses a proprietary version of JavaScript does make it a little bit more limiting in terms of the openness of standards. And so the DecisionPoint team quickly moved on to PhoneGap, which was a much more open and extensible framework. Very popular. In fact, there's several products that developed in the DecisionPoint family using the PhoneGap framework, and so definitely has its place in the market, specifically for consumer-facing applications. It does not currently support a model view controller or the requirement for complex business logic, nor does it have the same support for enterprise features like RFID and signature capture and barcode scanning. So what it does very well in the consumer space. However, most of our customers are enterprises and who are seeking support for enterprise scenarios, both from a back-end systems integration perspective, but also from a device capability perspective as it relates to signature capture and RFID, and then of course the need for complex business logic and the leverage and the following the pattern of model view controller is critical, and that allows you to separate your views from the business logic in the application, and which makes for a much more elegant, certainly a less verbose approach to writing these applications, and in fact gives you a reusable code base that you can use again in your next application or easily customize. And so for those reasons, the DecisionPoint team has standardized on the RhoMobile framework, and it delivers the flexibility that we need to quickly develop the enterprise applications of tomorrow. The other thing I'll mention is the ability to use third-party styling libraries. And we'll talk a little bit more about this as we go through the presentation and when we get to the UI UX component of the discussion today, but being able to plug and play with UI styling libraries is an important feature of the PhoneGap and the RhoMobile strategies, and one that we would absolutely encourage people to look at. Out of the box, the RhoMobile framework comes with a styling library called jQuery Mobile, which is great and works wonderful. Depending on the application and the scenario, you may want to have another look at some of the other libraries that are out there. Choose the one that works best for you and plug it in. At a glance, a quick description of what I just went over, with the addition of some of the operating support that further differentiates the RhoMobile framework from some of the others on the market, specifically around the legacy devices that I talked about, Windows Mobile, Windows CE, very important part of our customer base and those customers with legacy devices. So being able to create a universal application that allows you to address modern operating systems in addition to Windows Mobile and CE is an important requirement for us. The additional support of next generation Windows, both Phone 7 and Windows 8 embedded handheld in the future are also going to be important for our enterprise customer base, and that's another differentiator that you should appreciate for the RhoMobile framework. I talked about Model View Controller, RhoMobile only framework that supports that. And then also touched on it, but I didn't really dive into the need for applications to run in disconnected mode. So being able to use that application no matter where you might be, have it perform as you would expect. When connectivity resumes, have that device intelligently sync with your enterprise backend systems. It is a critical enterprise requirement and one that we regularly leverage. The additional benefit of the RhoConnect server is being able to allow for source adapters to be written quickly, which allow you to connect with your various enterprise systems and provide the data that those applications need. So application integration and data synchronization, important enterprise feature set that's not available in other frameworks. So I've started to talk a little bit about this, but to sum it up from an enterprise perspective, the tables tend to lean towards RhoMobile as the right enterprise standard, particularly because of the device capabilities and the integration capabilities that I touched on the last slide, in addition to the extended operating system support around Windows, both legacy and Windows of tomorrow. The enterprise feature sets, extensions called the RhoElements product for barcode, signature capture, RFID, data encryption are important differentiators as well. And then, of course, Model View Controller, RhoConnect for data synchronization, and, of course, the plug-and-play styling libraries. The key to a successful application and making sure that the employees, customers, partners adopt that application is to make sure that it is designed in a consumable, intuitive way. Modern applications that we would download from an app store or iTunes do not come with instruction manuals. People don't expect to have a user manual with their application. They expect to pick it up and start playing with it and figuring out how it works. That same principle and philosophy should be applied to an application designed for the enterprise. And the result of that is that you're going to have a higher adoption or quicker adoption and lower costs because you don't have the training classes and the manuals that go along with that. So focusing on ease of use, focusing on making sure that the application is designed from the user backwards, so spending time riding along with the users, understanding how they use the application and do their job as it exists today or as the business process exists today is critical, and then designing that application backwards so that this person can pick it up and just figure out how it works. The concept of gamification is popular, and that may be something that you want to build in depending on the application and its nature, but it kind of, again, a common request that's starting to flow through our team in Tulsa. And so I would suggest that having a graphics or UI UX person as part of the early stage development process and having the screens designed at the front end and the back end, the business logic support those screens is the correct methodology for writing a successful application. Which leads to a transition here of our archetype part of the development procedure here at DecisionPoint is to do as I just described. We have on-staff UI UX consultants who work alongside our development team, are part of the early stage design, and prior to any development beginning, we'll build the screens and have the business logic fall in behind that to support the user experience as the utmost importance. The archetype is how we approach that, where we start designing the business logic that this application will support, but most importantly the interface that the customer can expect. This is particularly important for non-technical audiences where they're not necessarily sure what they want or what it needs to look like, so being able to put the actual screen in front of those folks and show them what the day in the life of using this particular application would be like. And then, of course, all of the different descriptions of what and the functionality that goes along with that application would be available for them to review at the front end prior to any applications being developed. A couple of examples of how important UX is. This was an application we wrote for an eCitation customer of ours. Started out as a Windows Mobile application and then applied both the UI UX styling and next generation devices to it. The next version looks like this. Very dramatic difference in terms of its interface and intuitive new use. People pick it up and can immediately start figuring out how to use it. Another example of an inventory lookup application previously designed using the classic Windows Mobile design paradigms. Obviously small screens tend to be cluttered. Sometimes styluses are involved. Being able to get the information out to the worker, have them be able to do their job in a quick and easy way without having to have multiple buttons on the screen that are confusing. The output of this particular application looks like this. This was an application for a route delivery. Started out as a paper-based application. In fact, this is where we're seeing a lot of interest from customers today, particularly because of the ROI that's available to them in terms of converting legacy applications or business processes that might be paper-based today into an electronic or mobile version. Delivers all kinds of returns, and we're seeing applications pay for themselves within 12 months. So a more paper-based system starts like this. It looks like this after we apply modern smartphone development paradigms. So with that, the question becomes, how do we get started? How do we get our toe in the water? How do we start to bring our IT operations teams along with our business sponsors together and start to formulate a strategy that's going to support BYOD or certainly cross-platform and make sure that the organization has a future-proof strategy going forward. One of the tools in the toolkit that's available to our customers is a refresh planning workshop. This is where a senior architect will come on site and spend time with that group, understanding from the business perspective and from the operations perspective what's most important, applying the modern smartphone paradigms, talking about how we might integrate modern smartphone device features like camera mapping, RFID, NFC, as the case may be. Talk about availability, how do we leverage modern sync, how do we integrate this with your existing back-end systems, and at the output of that, develop a 6 to 10 page solution brief outlining the options, native versus cross-platform, what the pitfalls and gotchas are, but most importantly an estimate as to what it's going to cost to get from here to the application of tomorrow. And this serves as a discussion document that can be taken to the executive, where you can say, here's the plan, and here's our options as an organization in terms of supporting a next generation strategy with reusable components. And so, in summary, this is DecisionPoint is an organization that understands the hardware component of the mobile solution. In addition to the software acquisition we made in our Tulsa organization, there have also been acquisitions within field service and warehouse management, fleet management, merchandising, and of course our legacy services around deployment and service and support make for a complete solution and a one-stop shop for our customers who are looking for strategies going forward. And so we would encourage you to reach out to us. We're happy to spend more time talking specifically about your particular use cases and how the different cross-platform frameworks might be leveraged in order to deliver a roadmap and ultimately the application of tomorrow. So there's 4 ways to engage. The workshop is a great way to get started. We're also in the habit of supplying our staff to support customers at their sites, in addition to inviting customers to have their staff spend time at our offices. And then, of course, taking a project away and delivering it back is always an option, and we're happy to talk about those things. So the best way to contact us is through your legacy DecisionPoint representative, or you can contact me directly at the email address below. I look forward to the opportunity to engage and look forward to your questions. So with that, I'll pause here and just have a look and see if there are any questions that have come up while we've been presenting here. All right. First question, is the archetype part of the workshop? Actually, it's not. An archetype is a standalone offering. It's part of our larger development offering where we would be writing an application for an organization, and we would develop the archetype as the first phase in the development process. The workshop deliverable is a 6 to 10 page solution brief, written solution brief that outlines the different options, functionality requirements, as well as a preliminary estimate outlining what the effort would take to get from where you are today to an application of tomorrow. So that's a great question and important differentiator. Next question, how much is the workshop? The workshop is $12,500, and it's a 4-day on-site with the 5th day dedicated to that written report I was describing. And looks like that is the last of the questions. So with that, I'll give you back 7 minutes in your day today, and thank you for participating. Please feel free to reach out with any questions anytime. Thanks very much, everybody. Have a great day.